is and should be a touchdown. Here we go. Bryson Barnes has got his back behind him. It is Jaquindon Jackson. Here's the snap. Bryson Barnes looking deep. He's got a man. It's caught! He's gone! Touchdown early! And good evening, everybody, and welcome to College Football Wraparound. I'm Cooper Naylor, and we just saw this week some pretty crazy games, if we want to be honest. Of course, I'm going to get the bracket pulled up for you so that you can see that. Crazy what happened over this week with the bracket. Of course, this is the current bracket for the college football playoff. So, as you can see, all four conference champions that got a bye are now out, meaning that literally all five conference champions are no longer in the college football playoff. So, you heard me right. All five conference champions that were given the automatic bid are no longer sitting there in the playoff. It was a crazy couple of days. Of course, Georgia and Notre Dame played yesterday because of just a terrible situation there in New Orleans. That would have been played Wednesday night. There's also, I believe, the commissioner of the SEC, Greg Sankey, he was trying to push for the semifinal games to be flipped for Notre Dame and Penn State to play on next Friday night, and then on Thursday night would be Ohio State and Texas. They got denied by the playoff committee, but I do see where Sankey was coming from. It's a good gesture, but hey, it didn't work out. But this is the bracket. Of course, I showed you last night also that I have the more just semifinal bracket to show you just the matchups we have coming up for the four teams that are left. So, let's start out with Boise State and Penn State, which I'm going to get to in just a second. All right. So, Boise State, Penn State, what would I say about that game? Well, I did it the other night, and I think I kind of summed it up, but Penn State, they came out of the gates really they were swinging. They did a great job of taking control early. They scored 14 points very quickly. Honestly, it looked like it was going to be a blowout. It looked like, it truthfully looked like a team in Penn State really had a chance to just blow the doors off of Boise State at the beginning of it. Well, fast forward a few minutes later in this ball game, and Boise State, in the second quarter, they really came alive. Of course, they would go score a touchdown and only allow a field goal for halftime. It was 17-7. Second half, it was a quick. Boise State went down and scored, and we were thinking, oh, this is a ball game. But it took a few minutes, and Penn State, they would score a touchdown, and then I believe they went and scored again not too long after that. So Penn State, ultimately, yes, they won this game, but I feel like they shown that they are vulnerable in a sense, in the fact that they got comfortable early in this game. I feel like they saw that they got up 14-0, and they're like, oh, well, we are going to blow them out, so we don't have to do nothing. And they got comfortable, And then they realized midway through the second quarter, oh, we shouldn't have taken our foot off the gas. So they got back up 31-14. And then at that point, it seemed like they took their foot off the gas again, where they didn't score the rest of the game. But I mean, your defense held off. Here, and really, that's the thing. Penn State's defense, I think that is what helped win that ball game. If we're going to be completely honest, Penn State's defense won that game because they really, I mean, you held Ashton Genty. I mean, he carried the ball 30 times for like 100 yards, which, I mean, yeah, 100 yards is not good, but you got to keep in mind the yards per average, it's like 3 yards. And Genty had been averaging like 9 or 10 yards per carry before that game. So, yes, Genty had a bad game, but you got to credit that Penn State defense. That defense of Penn State made life so bad for Ashton Genty. And so, really, what Penn State, their game plan, which it worked, what their game plan was, let's take away the run game of Ashton Genty, and let's make Maddox Madsen have to sit back in the pocket and beat us by throwing the football. Well, I don't think he did terrible, but you could tell by the couple of interceptions he threw, he was rattled in this game. And so you got to give a lot of credit to Penn State's defense. Penn State's defense, like I said, they won that game. Now the offense, that's what kind of worries me. Because the question I have is, can that defense of really, can that defense truthfully and honestly, can they actually win a ball game? A big ball game. Yes, you scored enough points against Boise State. Yes, you scored enough points against SMU. But now you got your real test. You got Notre Dame. And let's say this. You get past Notre Dame. You know who's next? You got either Ohio State or Texas. Can you get past them? Can you trust Drew Aller in this offense to win a ball game for you? Now, one of the bright spots for that Penn State offense is going to be Tyler Warren, your tight end. He is an incredible tight end. But like I said before, I don't know how much I can sit here and truthfully tell you that I trust that Drew Aller can lead this team to a championship. I don't know. So I don't feel very confident in that. He did enough in this game, but there were flaws. He's got to improve on some of these off-balance throws where he has a sidearm angle, and then it's incomplete. Like, you can't have that. You're going to have to minimize the mistakes. If you want to win a championship, you got to be near perfect. And I just don't know if Drew Aller has that right now. So, I have a lot that I want to see from Drew Aller in these next 2 ball games. Of course, you got Notre Dame, and then you'll have either Ohio State or Texas. So, next, we're going to talk about a game that, quite frankly, the fact that it went to overtime, I think it doesn't shine a good light on Texas, because if you want to talk about a Texas team that really, should have lost that game, like a team that should have lost, you got to talk about Texas. So, Texas and Arizona State. So, Texas is another team just like Penn State. And I'm not going to beat around the bush. I'm just telling you for what it is. The 2 weakest teams left in the college football playoff in the semifinals is Texas and Penn State. Both of them, in my opinion, have a chance And this is sad, but I feel like there's a chance Ohio State blows Texas out and Notre Dame blows Penn State out. I think there's a chance, folks. I know it sounds crazy, but I think that's what could potentially happen here. And here's why. Texas got into a ball game. Oh, and I put the seeding wrong. I'm sorry about that. Either way, we'll leave it. Texas, they got into a situation here where they got up 14-0, I believe. And they're like, "Oh, we're fine." And then they kind of took their foot off the gas, just like Penn State. And it became 17-8, I believe, at one point. So then they're like, okay, like everybody who's watching is like, okay, you need to go score. You need to go score and let your defense finish this game for you. Well, they got the score, but that's when Cam Scatterboo really got going. Now, I don't remember if we've ever heard of a guy from a losing team, which I don't think it's ever happened. Cam Scatterboo won MVP of the Peach Bowl on the losing team. This game went into second overtime. Texas won the game 39-31, and it's because of Cam Scatterboo bringing the team back. Like, there's no way to describe it other than he willed that team back. When you want to talk about a team led by a running back who just put his team on his back and he's like, I'm taking you to the glory land. Like, that's what he was. Like, literally. It is sad for a guy like that, a competitor, a guy who, quite frankly, I mean, may not have gotten enough attention for the Heisman potentially. It's incredible. And yeah, I did mention Heisman because go look at the competition he's playing against compared to Ashton Jeanty. Now, I'm not hating on Ashton Jeanty. Ashton Jeanty, I got to tell you, he is an incredible running back. We should have been talking about Cam Scatterboo just about as much, to be honest with you. So that's just my honest opinion on that. He played an incredible game. Plus, he wasn't feeling great during that game. He was sick at parts of this game, so you could tell he was not feeling good. And the way he put his team on his back and nearly won this game, it's impressive. You got to give him credit. Now, Texas, what was that? I mean, what was after the midway point of the first quarter? What was that? I know you won the game, but you can't do that against Ohio State. I'm going to tell you the truth. Ohio State is the best team right now in the playoff. Ohio State is the hottest team in college football. Texas is probably one of the coldest teams that has won their ball games. I'll tell you what, you go to that Cotton Bowl playing that same way, you're going to lose. Ohio State is going to run the score up on you. So here's the thing. You can't take your foot off the gas. You gotta play stifling defense. You have to put the game away quick. So, yeah. Texas, you may have advanced, but yeah. There is not, I don't know how, I'm not really optimistic about Texas right now. Oregon and Ohio State. Now, you want to talk about a Ohio State team, I briefly just talked about them, but you talk about an Ohio State football team that, quite frankly, just dominated. And when I mean dominated, they dominated Oregon. Now, yes, people are going to say, oh, Well, you allowed 21 points at the end of the second quarter. You allowed them to score a touchdown, and then you allowed 2 touchdowns in the second half, and you only scored one touchdown in the second half. How are you supposed to win that game against Texas? This is going to be a close game. Here's why I say differently. Ohio State knew they won the game. There are teams when you are elite and you know that you're good, you know when you've put a team away. They put Oregon away. They made enough stops in that second half, even though they gave up like 13 points 13 points in the second half. They knew they put up enough points in the first half, and they knew their defense was playing good enough where they knew the game was over. I think everyone who was watching it knew the game was over. So, Ohio State, you got to start with Jeremiah Smith. You just talk about a guy that can basically just say, hey, throw me the football, and you throw it to him, and he will go get it wherever you throw the ball. He's going to go get it. This is a guy built like Julio Jones, like I would say Calvin Johnson in a way. Big, bulky receiver that just bullies his way, and he makes almost every single catch. And if he doesn't catch it, and if it's way off target, it's the quarterback's fault. It's not going to be his fault. He's not going to drop the ball very much at all, or maybe ever. Like, this is one of the best receivers to come through college football in a long time. And quite frankly, I'm sad that I haven't talked about him enough this season because, I mean, my goodness, this is a guy that just dominates on the field. Like, he's incredible. But then you got to look also. Ohio State's got 2 other receivers that are going to be starters in the NFL. You got Emeka Egbuka and you have Carnell Tate. Like, it's not even fair. Their tight end G. Scott, he had a great game. But Will Howard. And here's the thing. There are some quarterbacks that can make receivers look good, but then there are some receivers that can make a quarterback look good. And let's be honest. Will Howard, the way this team is playing, Will Howard looks like an incredible quarterback right now. Now, do I know whether it's because of Jeremiah Smith or whether Will Howard really is this good? Only time can tell. But the thing is, 2 straight games of throwing for 300 plus. That is ridiculous. But it brings more into perspective when you consider the fact that you look at his receivers, they're incredible. But then you lose sight of they got 2 incredible running backs. You got Quinshon Judkins, who was a transfer from Ole Miss, who he's really good. He is really good. And then you got Trevion Henderson, who's been there for what feels like forever, who he's just an incredible running back. So this Ohio State team, offensively, is incredible. I haven't even started to talk about their defense, but their defense, that's scary. That is a scary defense. Ohio State, this is a team they lost. This is one of the 2 teams they lost to this season. They dominated them in the Rose Bowl game. That it's ridiculous to go watch the 2 games. So, what do I say about this? Ohio State is for real. And Oregon, I mean, you got to give them credit. They tried to battle back in the end, but it just was too much too late. And quite honestly, I wish it was a better game as a fan of college football. But you just have to recognize when you're going up against a team that's probably going to win the championship, there's not much you can do. Ohio State, I'll give you everything you deserve. You dominated Oregon. That's why you won the football game. All right, finally, the game that played yesterday, Georgia and Notre Dame. What do I think about this? First off, I don't want to hear anything about, oh, Gunnar Stockton stinks. It was not his fault. Trust me. You're talking about a guy who was a backup quarterback who had to come in, and his first career start was in the Sugar Bowl against a incredible defense in Notre Dame. I don't care what you think. You got to give the credit where credit's due. Notre Dame won this game. Georgia was a good team this year, but Notre Dame won this game fair and square. They won this outright. And here's why. First off, defense. They held Georgia to 10 points. Now, I will say that, Gunnar Stockton wasn't bad. They would get up the field, but it's the ability to bend and don't break. Okay? It's the ability that when a team gets into the red area, you force them to really make mistakes. And Georgia just made way too many mistakes. They turned the ball over twice. I don't think Notre Dame even turned the ball over at once. But what was big, it's 6-3 at, with like a couple seconds left before halftime. And Kirby Smart decides, hey, we're going to be aggressive. We're going to go try to score. Well, Stockton's arm gets hit, ball's out. Who picks it up? Notre Dame does. What happens the next play? Riley Leonard, shot to the end zone, touchdown. And the Irish at that point, they're up 13-3 at halftime. Then, to start the whole second half, kickoff, and Notre Dame runs it all the way back. In a matter of moments, it was 6-3. It went from 6-3 to 20-3. Think about that. How does that happen? I don't know. I do not know how that happens. It is remarkable what we watched yesterday. And then just the ability to really make Georgia feel uncomfortable in this game. And Riley Leonard only threw for 90 passing yards for Notre Dame. He ran for about as much himself. But Notre Dame, they really are, the way to describe them is they may not have looked in, like, as far as like today, what we think about, high flying offenses going up and down the field, gaining a bunch of yards and all this kind of thing. Like, they didn't have to be that. They crushed Georgia by simply, special teams was big in this game. Notre Dame just ultimately dominated Georgia. They outcoached Georgia, and it was just hard. Everything was hard for Georgia yesterday. So you got to give Notre Dame all the credit in the world. Notre Dame won this game. So, with all that being said, with all the recapping that we just did, I'm going to let you have one last look. This is the semifinal round. In the Cotton Bowl, which will be played next Friday night, you got Ohio State and Texas. In the Orange Bowl, which will be played Thursday night, you got Notre Dame and Penn State. 2 games to decide who will play for the national championship. I'm going to tell you right now. I want you to watch my preview show that I'll have in a couple of days. I think Monday night is when I have it scheduled for. But I can tell you right now, unless something changes in the next few days for me to change my mind, I got to be honest with you. Your national championship is going to be Ohio State and Notre Dame playing in Atlanta. I just don't see a world where Texas or Penn State can get past Ohio State and Notre Dame. right now, if I had to choose a national champion, I'm going Ohio State. I don't see any of these three teams legitimately having a shot at beating Ohio State when it plays to the top of its level like it has these last two games. So, with all that being said, folks, thank you for watching. And don't forget to like and subscribe. I believe we haven't quite hit 100 subscribers. We're going to try to get there by the end of February. So please, if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. But for now, thanks for watching. We will see you again later. Goodbye, everybody.